Hello friends, Josie here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my weird little world. I've had quite a few questions about how I store the majority of my watercolour collection. So my Daniel Smith Schminker and a few Winsor Newton I throw in there. I've done videos in the past on a limited palette and how I utilise a travel palette, and also how I store my Prima products that I have. But this video is sort of wholly about how I store the majority of my watercolour collection in the range that Robax has. I just wanted to point out that this is not a paid or sponsored video of any kind, just something that I love and want to share with you all how I use it. So let's get started. Okay, so this storage solution is from Robax. I'll put a link below to the website for you. His name is Robert and he has been wonderful to deal with. I've had this for many, many years and found the customer service, in particular dealing with someone like me who's from overseas outside the US, they've been wonderful to deal with and organising shipping and all that sort of thing. I'll also put a link to the two videos that I mentioned earlier that I've done recently. So there's one on a travel palette, a custom limited palette that I've done, and also how I set up my Prima watercolour. So I'll list all of that below for you to look at a later time. So as I mentioned, this is the spinning wheel of awesome from Robax. I've had it for many, many years, and when I found and discovered it, I just had to have it. For a colour theory nerd like me, having them all set up in a colour wheel format with everything, all my complementaries opposite each other and that sort of thing, just music to my ears. So this is the 85 well that they have. They have a few different versions, but this is the one that I chose to get the most bang for my buck. It sits on a turntable that you can purchase additionally as well. And so there's 85 wells in total. When I first purchased this many, many years ago, the only option you had was to push your little half pans into the gaps into the wells for each colour that you want to put in there. But they have since, I think recently in the last 12 months, come up with this separate product that you can purchase, which are these little well liners. So I've only just added these probably in the last few months to my own. The benefit that I've found in that is having the half pans is great, but just having the ones in particular that you use more regularly than others, having that massive well to dip into and have plenty of room for even a larger brush has been really beneficial. So they also have, that I've just recently purchased as well. When I first bought it, they just had these things that you could put in the center for mixing and that sort of thing, but they now have these 12 well palettes that you can add. Silly me, when I bought them, thought they only came as a singular palette, so I ordered 9, not unknowing to me that it was a pack of 3. So I now have a huge stockpile of these for forever and a day to get me going. It's not too bad actually, because I do stack them one on top of each other and sort of come back to watercolour mixes and different palette combos from time to time, so it works out quite well. One thing I should point out with these, because they are plastic, is to get them the watercolour to pool quite nicely like this in these palettes is definitely prep it with a bit of gumption, or here in Australia I use Ajax. So just get a scrubbing brush and give it a good scrub with that and clean probably once or twice before you physically use them, and then it just makes the watercolour sit a lot nicer and easy to use in it that way. I don't find I have too much trouble because it is plastic with its staining. I think the old stuff, the original stuff, which is probably about 5 years old, has had an issue, but they've obviously resolved that since. The only thing that I have an issue with is the yellow, which is my most hated colour, so it's no worries for me. It does tend to stain the plastic a little bit, but other than that, no worries at all with any of the other colours. They also have this little beauty, which if you aren't happy with 85 colours, you can purchase this separately as well and pop it in the centre and go to your heart's content with all of the extras that you can add to it. I don't use it like that because I do pop all my palettes in the center. But I have this in a separate one of these because I'm ridiculous. I have two of these. So this one holds all my handmade mixes of watercolour that I've made myself in sort of a portrait format. So this one sort of I use separately just with all my portrait colours in it. The only con that I can probably see with this is the fact that it is quite large, so if your space is limited it might be an issue for you, but if you're someone like me that watercolour is pretty much the only medium that you use, this is something that I would make the space and work in a tiny little area just to have this tool at my disposal. So I hope this shows you quite a few different things that you can do to organise your watercolour with the Robax range. It's just something that I love, and yeah, I hope that shows you a little bit of how I use my watercolour. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below, and also thank you so much for my patrons for supporting me and being part of my online teaching platform. It's something that I enjoy doing, and feel free to check that out if you would like to learn some more from me.